Hi everyone, welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about how to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 9.2 on a VMware vCenter virtual machine, and then create a template and deploy virtual machines. Within our demo lab, we have a VMware vCenter server, and we already downloaded Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 9.2, and later we can create a template and we can deploy multiple virtual machines. Okay, here is the quick agenda. RHEL 9.2 virtual machine build procedure. Before we prepare this RHEL 9.2 virtual machine, first of all, we should understand what are all the pre-implementation steps and implementation procedure, post-implementation steps. And the second key point is create a RHEL 9.2 template. And finally, we can deploy virtual machine from this template. Okay. And in general, when we are preparing a RHEL 9.2 virtual machine, first we need to understand the virtual machine pre-implementation steps. So pre-implementation steps means our virtual machine configuration details. In our lab, we can choose any virtual machine name, CPU quantity can be 1 or 2 CPUs, and virtual machine, whatever the size we want, we can create. But in the real-time scenario, we must remember before implementing the production virtual machine, we should have a configuration details. So for example, I just given VM name as RHEL 9.2 and CPUs are virtual CPUs 2 and memory is 8 GB and disk size 100 GB and network card one network card and operating system we are installing the same OS RHEL 9.2. So say and similarly we have when we are ready with our pre-implementation steps, we are good to create a virtual machine as per the requirement. And then we can install the guest operating system, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.2. So let's quickly log into our lab system and we can create a virtual machine. As I mentioned, within our vCenter, we have vCenter already. I log into the vCenter server. We have data center cluster running with one ESXi host. And within ESXi host, one DC server and vCenter VM also created. Now we are going to create a new virtual machine. Right click the ESXi host, new virtual machine. Click on next and virtual machine name as per our pre-implementation steps we are planning to keep the virtual machine name as RHEL 9.2 same as virtual machine a Red Hat Enterprise Linux version. Okay, and you can choose the data center, click on next and select the ESXi host compatibility checks succeeded and click on next, and we can choose the data store, any data store wherever we have a more free space. For example, if you see here provisioned is only 110 GB, let me choose the local data store 1, click on next, and compatibility with ESXi 8.0 and later just leave it as default options, click on next and select the guest operating system. Our guest operating system is Linux and guest OS version. We have to choose Linux Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 series. Okay. And our virtual machine version by default, it comes with the latest version 20. Now click on next. And the hardware we have to customize now based on our pre-implementation steps. We are planning to assign 2 virtual CPU and memory. We are planning to assign 8 GB virtual machine memory, and also we are planning for a hard disk size is 100 GB, and anyhow it's a lab system, we can make the disk provisioning type thin provision. Okay, so disk size is assigned and network card by default it assigned with one network card. Okay, and if you want to mount the ISO you can mount it now or first create VM and in the second step we can mount. Any method is fine. Okay, and the other additional hardware settings we no need to modify at this time, so just click on next. You can see the configuration details before complete. Virtual machine name RHEL 9.2 and the configurations are accurate. Hard disk size also 100 GB. Now click on finish. So in our recent task we can see create virtual machine status completed and RHEL 9.2 virtual machine is created. It is in the power off state. But before power on, we have to mount the RHEL ISO file With interest of our time, I already uploaded the ISO file to ESXi data store. Just in case if you want to download, we can download from the Red Hat website. Let's say access.redhat.com/downloads. You can see the RHEL download option. This is one option. And another option is you can also download it from developers.redhat.com site. From this site also you can download the RHEL Enterprise Linux. You can see the RHEL server ISO, and you can see the latest version 9.2. You can download this edition as well. Okay, and for other versions you can click on RHEL version, you can choose, or else within the same page if you scroll down we can find the different versions 8.8 as well as 9.2 RHEL, and the previous version 9.0 also available, and even 8.6 also available. And while downloading this ISO, remember that generally we are downloading the full ISO. It comes with approximately 8.94 GB. Okay, and if your motherboard, most of the time server motherboards are x86-64. If it is a different flavor motherboard, you can choose appropriate DVD ISO file. Okay, so currently I downloaded this ISO file and I uploaded to our data store. If you go to the data store, let's double check the ISO file uploaded or not. Go to the files within the ISO folder. See RHEL 9.2 ISO file is uploaded. Now we can map the same ISO file to our newly created virtual machine. Right click the virtual machine, go to the edit settings, and you can choose the CD DVD and select as data store ISO file, and we can mount our ISO file. Select ISOs, choose the specific ISO, click on OK, and select this option, connected power on option. Now click on OK. So in the recent task, reconfigure virtual machine is completed. Once it is completed, now we are good to power on the virtual machine. See virtual machine power on in progress. Just launch the remote console. Either launch remote console or launch web console. Any method is okay. It is trying to test the ISO file, but it's already working ISO. So select install. Now Red Hat Enterprise Linux booting is in progress. So we can choose the language English, click on next, and the keyboard US English, and software we are connecting to Red Hat, and installation media. If you want to modify the partition, we can modify the partition here. We have two options, either automatic or custom. Suppose if you select the custom, click on done, and we can see to create a partitions, what is the partitions available for this OS. Let's say home partition is 29 GB, slash root partition is 60 GB. Generally home partition is not required. Just let me remove, and we can, whatever the available space we have, let's try to allocate it to the same root size because it's equally distributed to all other partitions. Let's say I given the size as 90 GB. When you give 90 GB, still there is a 535 MB is available. So we can mention the size as 90.5. So again, select boot. So we have the main key partitions are slash boot, swap, it's equivalent to virtual machine memory, and the slash is the root partition. Now click on done. So summary of changes, just accept the changes. So partition is created. Language support English, and installation stores our local media, and time zone it's by default selected as Singapore time zone. Let's leave it as it is. Even if you double click here, current server location is Singapore only. And now software selection, we can select server with the GUI. If you want to install any of the tool, you can choose. For normally for ESXi host virtual machine, we have to enable guest agents. It will automatically install virtual machine VMware tools. Okay, and the remaining one based on the requirement we can select. So for the time being, I'm just going with default only with guest agents. Now click on done. And network, if you want to assign the host name, we can assign the host name. By default, it's getting the IP address from dynamic IP address, but we can assign any of the name. Let's say our virtual machine name, whatever we given, the same name we can assign for a guest OS name also, RHEL 9.2, and click on apply. So that means host name is applied, and IP address, if you want to configure manually, go to that IPv4 settings, change the DHCP to manual. Okay, once you change to manual, we can add the IP address here. So 192.168.10. Let's say we are planning to give the IP addresses any random IP address, for example 15, and give the subnet mask 255.255.5.0, and the gateway is based on our network, we can give the gateway 10.1. Now the DNS server, we can give our DNS server IP 192.168.10.53 is our DNS. So now click on save. So all the settings are assigned. Now click on done. And the remaining option, if you want to set the root password, you can set the root password. I just given the default passwords. And LO SSH root SSH login with password, just enable this option. Click on done. It says password do not match. So let me try again. Okay, assign the password, click on done. Now, if you want create a user, we can create a user as well. Let's say username GCG. Make this user as administrator and assign the password. Now click on done. So all the settings are okay. This is a complete installation summary. Now we can click on begin installation. So installation may take a while. In the meantime, let's back to our slide. I will try to explain the post implementation steps. So currently we created the virtual machine as per our requirement, and we initiated the RHEL 9.2 version installation. Now the another step is, once the installation completed, we have to restart and we can power on the virtual machine. Install VMware tools. We already selected guest agent, so VMware tools will install automatically. And change the server name similar as virtual machine display name. Let's say our VM display name I given as RHEL same version 9.2, and guest wise also we should validate same name or not. And assign IP address also, during installation itself I assign the static IP settings. IP settings means IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and DNS. And time zone, currently the server location in the Singapore, so I selected the time zone location as Singapore. And activate the guest voice license. Normally in the production environment, we have to activate the RHEL subscription. So for test environment without subscription also, we are good to utilize for trial edition. And enable SSH also during in creation of root, modifying the password, root assigning the password, we enable the SSH. And install project specific application, it can be based on our customer requirement. And virtual machine guest OS hardening also, some customers they prefer to do hardening as well during the post implementation, and provide the virtual machine login credentials and all the details to customer. So this is all, these all the 10 points consider as a post implementation steps. Okay, so we almost covered all the post implementation steps. We'll just verify that we can monitor the installation status from our console, VM console. See, it is almost finishing. See, now when we see the installation, it took some time. Now the installation status is completed. You can read the message in the below. Red Hat Enterprise Linux now successfully installed and ready for you to use, and go ahead and reboot your systems to start using it. So let's click on rebooted system. So currently reboot is in progress. So in the meantime, let's back to our slide. We'll discuss the additional points. So it's already boot up very fast. You can see we can log into the system. So it is asking to take a tour. We can verify later as well. See, this is a subscription process. See, currently Red Hat 9 is installed. If you see here now, if you want to verify the host name, just type host name CTL. You can see the all the information. Current Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.2 version, and also the currently this system is created with 9.2, and also the host name is currently RHEL 9.2. That is only the host name in the OS level. Okay, and even operating system also same version 9.2. Now back to our slide. So we have power on the virtual machine. VMware tools already installed. If you want to verify the VMware tools, log into the vCenter server and select the virtual machine. Within the summary tab, you can see VMware tools are running state, because we enable a guest agent option during the installation. That means it will install VMware tools automatically. And our virtual machine IP address is 15. And even the virtual machine name and also the guest operating system name, we given the same name. Okay, change the server name similar as VM display name, and IP address we assigned. Time zone also Singapore time zone, and license only we are just keep it as a without subscription. We are just doing because it's a lab system, but in the production environment we need to enable a Red Hat Enterprise Linux subscription, and SSH also we already enabled. Okay, so let's talk about another point. Now, another key point is create a RHEL 9.2 template. So how we can create template is, before going to create a template, let's understand what is template. Template means it's a master copy of virtual machine. It is used to create and provision new virtual machines. The use case for the template also, the template will help to deploy multiple virtual machines. It will reduce the deployment time of virtual machine. And for instance, RHEL 9.2, the customer they given for a 20 virtual machines deployment. So X means any number. So this many number of virtual machine we have to deploy. Let's say 20 VMs we have to deploy. You can use one template, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.2 template, to deploy all your 20 virtual machines. Okay, so that is the main key use case. So now let me create a template. How we can make this virtual machine as a template? Log into our vCenter. Currently, VM creation is completed. To convert this VM to template, first we have to right click the VM. We have to power off the virtual machine. So you can choose the option shut down guest operating system. So in our recent task, we can see initiate guest OS is completed. So it may take a while to shut down the operating system. Even if you refresh the web browser, currently VM is in the power off state. If you see, VM is already in the power off state. So now if you want to convert this virtual machine as template, right click the VM and you can go to the template. You can see the option convert to template. So select convert to template option. So when we convert this to virtual machine as template, you can see in the recent task, mark virtual machine as template completed. And we cannot see within the host and clusters. Go to the VMs and templates tab. Under VMs and templates tab, we can see RHEL 9.2 template. So template is already created. Even this is the template icon. So same point only I highlighted in our slide. This is the template icon. Now, another point. Deploy virtual machine from the template. So how we can deploy a multiple virtual machine? As we know, template means master image of virtual machine, and using this image we can deploy not only one, we can create a number of virtual machines. So now log into vCenter, we can try to deploy a virtual machine. So we can choose the VM name, let's say new virtual machine, and the VM name is RHEL. Let's say in shortcut I can use the name Red Hat RH-VM-01. This is the name I given. So now click on next, and we have to choose the host. Let's choose the ESXi host as ESX1. Compatibility checks succeeded. Now click on next, choose the data store. Let's say data store as, this time I'm choosing data store 2. Click on next, next, and finish. Now, similarly, if you want to deploy one another VM, again right click the template, choose the new VM from this template, and you can enter the name. Let's say RH-VM-02, second VM, and you can choose the ESXi host. Now click on next, choose the data store, click on next, next, finish. So I already initiated 2 VM creation. Currently template see the clone virtual machine completed, another one also going to complete. Even if you want create another VM, same option, RH-VM-03, right click the select, click on next, and choose the ESXi host, click on next, and choose the specific data store, click on next. And these options, if you want to modify, we can modify, or else go with the default options. See, I already deploy a 3 virtual machines from the template: RHEL VM01, VM02, and VM03. Even VM03 also completed. If you want power on, just select the VM and power on, and go to the virtual machine console. You can see RHVM01 booting is in progress. And even same way, if you want to verify the RHVM02, just power on. When you power on, go to the web console, see RHVM02 also power on in progress. It's already boot up. And same way, even RHVM3, select the VM, power on. And when you select RHVM, see the VMware tools running state, VM2 also running state. And the VM guest OS level name and IP address we have to modify. Okay. And the boot up level, there is no issues. VM02 and VM01 we successfully boot up using template. And same way, even RHVM03 also boot up successfully. Okay. So that's it for today. Hope you understand the concept, how we can create a virtual machine and install the Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 9.2 and convert that VM as a template. Once we convert in template, how we can deploy a multiple virtual machine. So for testing purpose, we created a 3 virtual machine using template. Not only 3, even you can deploy 300 VMs also you can deploy using the same template. Okay, thank you. If you're watching this video first time, please do view, like, share, and subscribe to the Gnan Cloud Garage channel. If you are already subscribed, I appreciate all your support. Bye for now.